U.S. President Donald Trump has declared a 10% baseline tax on imports from all countries and even higher tariff rates on dozens of nations.
Following years of reforms and European assistance, the 5 Central Asian countries are embarking on a strategic pivot towards Europe.
Warning Hamas that pressure will intensify if Israel's demands are not met, Netanyahu announced IDF seizing territory and establishing a new security corridor across the Gaza Strip.
At least 4 people have died following a Russian missile attack on the Ukrainian city of Kryvyi Rih.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
U.S. President Donald Trump has declared a 10% baseline tax on imports from all countries and higher tariff rates on dozens of nations that run trade surpluses with the United States. Imports on goods from the European Union are facing a 20% tax, Trump announced as he held up a chart at the White House.
European Union, they're very tough, very, very tough traders. You think of European Union, very friendly. They rip us off. It's so sad to see. It's so pathetic. 39%, we're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half.
Trump promised Americans that factory jobs will return back to the United States, but his policies risk a sudden economic slowdown as consumers and businesses could face sharp price hikes.
For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe alike. American steelworkers, auto workers, farmers, and skilled craftsmen, we have a lot of them here with us today. They really suffered gravely. They watched in anguish as foreign leaders have stolen our jobs, foreign cheaters have ransacked our factories, and foreign scavengers have torn apart our once beautiful American dream.
Trump's announcement threatens to upend much of the architecture of the global economy and trigger broader trade wars. Longtime trade partners, including the EU, have already hit back at previously announced tariffs on steel and aluminium.
Following years of reforms and European assistance, the 5 Central Asian countries are embarking on a strategic pivot towards Europe. The EU is seeking reliable partners in the currently rapidly changing geopolitical reality for political and also economic reasons such as trade, investment and energy. In an exclusive interview to Euronews, Uzbekistan's President Shavkat Mirziyoyev, the host of the gathering, calls the summit a historic chance for the region. He said that over the past 7 years, the trade turnover between Central Asian countries and the EU has quadrupled, amounting to 54 billion euros. Over 1,000 companies with European capital are already working in Uzbekistan with the joint investment project portfolio of 30 billion euros.
It is truly a historic moment for Central Asia. We've been independent for 34 years. We celebrated this as a new step, as a milestone in our development. In today's changing world, where the whole current world order is being shaken with this great tectonic shifts in geopolitics, we need reliable partners.
A major area of cooperation lies in the ongoing project to create a green strategic corridor through the Caspian and Black Seas to Europe. The implementation of this initiative will lay a solid foundation for what both sides are looking for: mutually beneficial energy connectivity.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced Israel is establishing a new security corridor across the Gaza Strip, which he named the Morak Corridor. The term Morak Corridor refers to a Jewish settlement that once stood between Rafah and Khan Yunis. Netanyahu warned that pressure will intensify if Israel demands are not met.
הלילה ברצועת עזה העברנו הילוך. צה"ל תופס שטחים, מכה במחבלים, הורס את התשתיות, ואנחנו עושים דבר נוסף. אנחנו תופסים את ציר מורג. זאת תהיה הפילדלפי השנייה, ציר פילדלפי הנוסף. משום שאנחנו עכשיו מבטרים את הרצועה, ואנחנו מוסיפים את הלחץ צעד אחר צעד, כדי שיתנו לנו את חטופינו. וככל שלא ייתנו, כך הלחץ יגבר, עד שייתנו.
This follows last month's retaking of the Netzarem corridor in northern Gaza, which splits northern and southern Gaza. Defense Minister Israel Katz earlier said the IDF is expanding its operations to seize large areas in Gaza, aiming to crush militants and expand Israeli security zones. Overnight strikes killed over 40 people, including nearly a dozen children, according to hospital officials. Hamas still holds 59 captives, with 24 believed alive after previous deals freed others. The Hostage Families Forum expressed horror at Katz's announcement, urging the Israeli government to prioritize a deal for the hostages' release.
At least 4 people have died following a Russian missile attack on the Ukrainian city of Kryvyi Rih. The head of the city's military administration said a large fire broke out and several apartment buildings were damaged. 14 people were injured in the strike, according to the regional governor, including an 8-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl. Kryvyi Rih is the hometown of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and lies around 70 kilometers from the nearest front line.
Marine Le Pen's hopes of becoming France's next president may still be alive after a court of appeals in Paris said it will issue a decision on her case by the summer of 2026. If the deadline is met, this would mean that a final decision could be handed down several months before the 2027 presidential election. So under what circumstances could Le Pen still run for president?
Il n'y a qu'un seul scénario, c'est celui où elle est innocentée ou celui où sa peine est suffisamment réduite pour que l'inéligibilité ne court pas jusque l'élection présidentielle en 2027. Il y a bien un troisième scénario, c'est celui de la grâce présidentielle. Mais il faut rappeler que le président de la République ne peut gracier que pour une condamnation qui est définitive. Définitive. On ne peut donc exercer ce droit de grâce que si Marine Le Pen a terminé d'épuiser les voies de recours.
While she awaits a second trial and despite her conviction, Marine Le Pen keeps her seat as a member of parliament in the National Assembly. But in the event of a dissolution, she will not be able to stand for re-election. Monday's conviction for embezzlement of EU Parliament funds still spells trouble for her party, according to certain experts.
Ça déstabilise, ça fragilise le leadership, l'organisation, la ligne idéologique. Il y a beaucoup de choses qui sont déstabilisées. D'abord, c'est cela. Maintenant, il peut y avoir résilience, évidemment, et puis il peut y avoir peut-être cette seconde solution que serait Bardella.
L'état de droit, là, c'est la négation de l'état.
Plan B, like for Jordan Bardella, the leader of the National Rally Party and Le Pen's protégé, could replace her as a candidate in the 2027 election. But at only 29 years old, he could be seen as relatively inexperienced, only having served as a member of the European Parliament. While waiting for the courts to rule again, the National Rally has already launched its counterattack. It boasts 10,000 additional party members and 300,000 signatories for its support petition since Marine Le Pen's conviction on Monday.
Myanmar's ruling military junta has declared a temporary ceasefire until April 22nd to aid earthquake relief efforts. The announcement follows unilateral ceasefires by armed resistance groups that oppose military rule. The junta's statement says that ethnic armed groups and local militias must refrain from attacking state forces or expanding territory. If these conditions are not met, the army warned it will take necessary measures. 5 days after the devastating earthquake struck central Myanmar, hopes of finding survivors are fading. Rescue operations have been severely hampered by the ongoing civil war and quake damage to roads and bridges. State television confirmed the death toll in Myanmar has risen to 2,886, with 4,639 injured. In neighboring Thailand, at least 22 people were killed. Humanitarian groups are urging a broader ceasefire to facilitate aid deliveries, as nearly 20 million people already needed assistance before the disaster.
Europe has around 2,000 combat aircraft. While European models like the French Rafale, the Swedish Gripen and the European Typhoon Consortium make up the bulk of the continent's air force, the F-35 from America's Lockheed Martin is a must-have. Italy has ordered 90 of this aircraft, Germany 35, Belgium 34 and Poland 32. All in all, Europe will be able to rely on a further 200 American aircraft in the coming years. This comes at the risk of maintaining its military dependence on the US despite EU calls for strategic autonomy.
Il y a une forme de dépendance parce que c'est un appareil qui est très sophistiqué et qui nécessite beaucoup de maintenance. Ça signifie qu'il faut remplacer des pièces régulièrement. La chaîne logistique qui produit ces pièces, eh bien, elle est gérée par Lockheed Martin aux États-Unis. Et donc à ce niveau-là, on peut dire qu'il y a une forme de dépendance des États-Unis.
When it comes to Air Force, American technology has an advantage over European aircraft.
Il y a quand même une petite différence parce que les Américains maîtrisent malgré tout des technologies, notamment en termes de furtivité, que ne maîtrisent pas aujourd'hui les Européens. La question est évidemment de savoir est-ce que pour les opérations de combat modernes, la furtivité est quelque chose d'absolument requis ou bien est-ce que l'on peut s'en passer et compter sur des avions qui sont capables de présenter un haut niveau de discrétion.
Questions are also being raised concerning Washington's ability to ground aircraft through the possibility of using special software. However, using this kill switch could deal a blow to American reliability and the lucrative exports of its military industry.